I'm sitting at my desk, the late afternoon sun spilling across the city skyline, warming my arms through the silk blouse I chose for this moment. The hum of the air conditioner blends with the soft buzz of my phone, and when it vibrates against the leather notebook I'm leaning on, my chest tightens. Her name flashes across the screen. My sister. It's been years since that night. The night she stole my dress, my moment, my pride. Funny how a single act could echo through the years, quietly shaping everything I became. I press my thumb against the screen, hesitating. Part of me wants to ignore it. Part of me knows ignoring her isn't an option anymore. I glance at the framed photo on my desk. Me, smiling in a modest gown at a corporate awards dinner, arms crossed in triumph. No one knew how much I'd clawed my way up, hiding late nights and rejection behind a calm, composed exterior. They thought I was still fragile, still the girl in the shadow of my sister's spotlight. The message opens casual, almost innocent, but I feel the old familiar sting. Hey, can we talk? I think it's time we clear the air. My fingers hover over the keyboard. Humor tinged with irony curls in my chest. The same sister who once stole from me now wants reconciliation? I exhale slowly, brushing my fingers over the smooth silk of my blouse, feeling the quiet power it lends me. I've kept my victories quiet, hidden behind the hum of everyday life. But the truth is ready. I'm ready. And I'm no longer the girl whose dress could define her. I remember that night like it was yesterday, even though it feels like a lifetime ago. The living room was buzzing with chatter and laughter, everyone dressed to impress. I had spent weeks imagining that night, planning every detail, picking the dress that made me feel like I could finally be seen. It was a soft, seafoam green gown, delicate and flowing, the kind that seemed to carry its own quiet confidence. And then she took it. My sister, twirling in my gown as if it belonged to her, smiling wide while I stood frozen in the doorway. I felt the lump rise in my throat, my hands trembling against my sides. That's mine, I whispered, barely audible over the music and chatter, but she only laughed, brushing me off with that effortless ease she always had. Everyone else smiled at her, oblivious, leaving me invisible. It wasn't just the dress. It was the moment, the validation I had waited for, the recognition I craved. And in that instant, I realized that family wouldn't always see me, wouldn't always cheer for me. Sometimes they'd choose her. Always her. I fled to my room, my reflection in the mirror reflecting more than just disappointment. My cheeks were hot, my eyes stinging with tears I refused to shed in front of anyone. That night, Grandma's words came back to me, soft but firm. Never let someone else's shadow define your light, darling. You have it in you to shine, even if they try to dim it. Her necklace, small and unassuming, had always hung in my room. I touched it now, feeling its cool weight in my hand, as if it carried a secret promise. I could rise. I didn't have to wait for recognition. I didn't have to be defined by someone else's choices. I made a decision then, shaky but resolute. I would build my own path, step by step, away from the family living room where my sister spun in borrowed glory. I would learn, work, fight, and grow, not for them, not for their applause, but for me. That was the first moment I truly understood independence. It wasn't a destination. It was a choice. And I chose it that night, holding onto that necklace and the quiet spark of determination that no stolen dress could ever take away. After that night, I threw myself into everything I could control. I started small, late nights in my cramped apartment, sketching designs, sending resumes, making calls that often went unanswered. I was terrified of failing, but the fear felt different from before. It was sharp, alive, motivating. Every time I thought of her twirling in my dress, it fueled me rather than broke me. I met my first mentor, Ms. Larkin, at a small networking event. She was sharp, seasoned, the kind of woman who could spot talent in a crowded room. When I nervously presented my ideas, she didn't brush me aside. Instead, she leaned in, eyes bright. "You have potential," she said simply yet firmly. "Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Not even family." That sentence became a mantra I repeated over and over during long nights when doubt gnawed at me. The first few months were brutal. I worked 12-hour days, sometimes longer, juggling freelance projects, learning new skills online, and pitching clients who seemed either indifferent or dismissive. My apartment was littered with half-finished drafts and empty coffee cups. I cried more than once, curled on the floor in the dark, questioning if this sacrifice was worth it. But then came the small wins. The first client who truly believed in me, the first check that paid more than rent, the first email praising my work. I learned to keep my life deliberately private. Family calls were met with polite vagueness. Social media updates were minimal. They thought I was still struggling, perhaps quietly floundering, while in truth, I was quietly building an empire of my own. I decorated my workspace with symbols of progress, framed sketches, awards, and notes from mentors who had guided me along the way. Each success was my own, unshared and unclaimed by anyone else. I began to see the patterns that had kept me small for so long. I understood that my sister's spotlight had never really been about the dress or the night itself. It had been about attention, recognition, and control, things I was finally learning to claim for myself in ways she never could. And unlike before, I didn't crave validation from them. I craved growth, mastery, independence. By the time my career took off, I was unrecognizable from that trembling girl in the green dress. I had clients from across the country, projects that challenged me creatively, and mentors who celebrated my victories as much as I did. My success wasn't flashy. It was subtle, measured, and deeply satisfying. And most importantly, it was mine. No one could take it from me, and I intended to keep it that way until the moment came to show them. The invitation arrived unexpectedly, her idea, or maybe the family's, a casual get-together at my downtown loft. I had debated whether to accept, hovering between curiosity and caution. But deep down, I knew the truth had been waiting for this moment, and I was ready to deliver it. When they arrived, the air was crisp, carrying the scent of fresh flowers I had arranged myself. My apartment was a testament to every step I had taken since that night years ago. Sleek shelves lined with awards, vibrant paintings I had collected from emerging artists, and personal touches that whispered stories of persistence. My office desk gleamed, organized with precision, yet soft lighting made the space feel warm, not intimidating. They paused in the doorway, eyes wide. My sister, who had once outshone me with ease, looked at me like she had stumbled into someone else's life. My parents exchanged uncertain glances, unsure whether to step forward or retreat. I smiled, the same quiet, confident smile I had learned to wear over the years. "I'm glad you're here," I said, voice steady, even as a thrill of satisfaction ran through me. "There's something I've been meaning to show you." I led them through the apartment, each step carefully measured. They noticed the framed letters from clients, the accolades tucked into corners, the way natural light hit the spaces I had designed with care. I let them take it all in, letting the suspense stretch, the weight of anticipation thicken a room. Then I spoke, each word deliberate. "You remember the dress I wanted so badly? The one you wore instead." My sister's face paled slightly, as though recalling a memory she had hoped was buried. I continued, softer now, almost conversational. "I didn't need it. That night I realized something important. I could shine in my own way. And I did." I gestured to my accomplishments, to the life I had meticulously built. "I own my business. I lead projects across the country. I make decisions that affect hundreds of people. And yes, my life is nothing like what you expected. I am not struggling. I am thriving. All on my own." Their reactions were priceless. My sister's lips pressed into a thin line, her hands fidgeting with the edge of her sleeve. My parents' eyes widened, a mixture of guilt, surprise, and disbelief flickering across their faces. They had expected the same timid girl they once ignored. Instead, they faced a woman they had underestimated, a woman who had grown while they assumed she remained small. I let the silence linger for a few moments, savoring it, letting every detail of my world speak before I added, almost gently, I didn't need anyone's approval to shine. But I do want you to see it, clearly this time. It was more than a reveal. It was a reckoning. The spotlight that had once been stolen from me now shone on me fully, brilliantly, and unapologetically. And this time, there was no one to steal it away. I finally had the upper hand, and it felt electric, a mix of relief, pride, and quiet satisfaction. For years, I had carried the weight of their expectations and comparisons, letting their opinions shadow my confidence. Now, the roles had reversed. I could choose how or even if I wanted to support them. I met my sister's gaze first. The girl who had twirled in my dress, who had taken center stage without effort, looked at me uncertainly, as if asking permission to breathe. I didn't need to shout or accuse. My calm presence spoke louder than any words. "You want to repair what's been broken?" I asked gently. "It starts with honesty. You need to own your actions, stop living in my shadow, and find your own path. Only then can we begin to rebuild." Turning to my parents, I laid out my conditions with the same measured tone. "I will support you, yes, but you must stop underestimating people based on old patterns. No more comparisons, no more favoritism, no more expecting others to diminish themselves to make you comfortable. Pursue your passions. Learn humility. Celebrate someone else's success without feeling threatened. That's the first step." There was a pause, thick with tension. My sister's lips trembled, but slowly, she nodded. My parents exhaled, faces softening with dawning comprehension. I could see them weighing the weight of their past mistakes, the same mistakes that had driven me to forge my own path in the first place. I added a final point, voice unwavering but warm. "I care about all of you, but I will no longer allow old patterns to define my relationships. I will guide, but I will not bend to envy or negativity. This is not punishment, it's clarity. It's the only way we can move forward together without repeating history." And then I let them absorb it. I didn't soften it with apology. I didn't dilute the truth. I simply let the air carry the message that the balance had shifted. I had their attention, their respect. Tentative, yes, but real. And in that moment, I realized that power wasn't about revenge or dominance. It was about choice, about setting boundaries, and about creating the space for growth, for everyone involved. For the first time in years, I felt a lightness in the room. No resentment, no envy, no stolen moments, just honesty and a chance for everyone to step into their own spotlight. And the thought made me smile. The girl who had once been overshadowed was no longer hiding. The spotlight was hers, and she knew how to hold it with grace. Weeks passed after that conversation, and slowly, I watched them begin to change. My sister enrolled in a professional course she'd been hesitant to try, taking tentative steps toward her own dreams instead of leaning on mine. My parents started listening, really listening, during family discussions, making space for others' voices, letting go of the old patterns that had once held us all captive. I reflected on my own journey, tracing the invisible thread from the night of the stolen dress to this very moment. The pain had been sharp, almost unbearable, but it had shaped me, carved resilience into my bones. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt had led me here, to a place of independence, clarity, and quiet triumph. I picked up the necklace Grandma had given me all those years ago, now resting in a small velvet box on my desk. Its cool weight was a reminder of the promise I had made to myself, to shine regardless of who tried to overshadow me. I held it close, feeling gratitude for the lessons it carried, about patience, courage, and the quiet power of self-belief. That night, as I closed my office and looked out over the city lights, I felt a sense of completion. Not perfection, there was still growth to come, still healing to nurture, but a profound satisfaction in knowing I had taken the pain, the betrayal, and the stolen moments and transformed them into a life that was fully, unapologetically mine. And in that quiet, reflective moment, I whispered to myself, the words rolling off my tongue with the weight of triumph and grace. I wore the gown of my life all along, and no one could take the spotlight from me. Not then, not now, not ever. Bottom of form.